Wrapping it up on Sports Bit, Paulie and Teddy. Play of the day coming up. The horrible news yesterday out of Minnesota. Teddy Bridgewater, non-contact drill, torn ACL, dislocated knee. That pretty much will end his season. Oh my God. Do you call Sanchez? Do you call the Browns? Do you call the Eagles? What are Sean Hill now and your buddy Stave. Oh my God. Nobody's left for the Vikings. And Sean Hill's what, 36, 35, 36 years old?
36 years old. And at one point in his career, there was hope for Sean Hill. But look, I told you earlier, excuse me, August hasn't been a great month. You know, some months you're rolling. August has not been a great month for me. So what do I got? I got Vikings, all kinds of Vikings over in my pocket, over 9.5 wins. I got Vikings to win the division. I got Vikings to win the Super Bowl. And then the Bridgewater news. And this is not a minor injury. They were talking about how the team was devastated. They expected to be Super Bowl contenders this year. And now, doesn't matter what happens. They're throwing a stiff in behind center. Oh, and by the way, you have two speedsters at wide receiver who are going to open up this whole offense with a quarterback that can chuck it downfield. But not going to happen. So Sean Hill, yeah, he's 36 years old. Again, he's a guy who showed signs, who had a couple of decent starts. He's not a guy that feels like he's going to take a team to the Super Bowl. So behind him, the third stringer, Taylor Heineke. Oh, he's hurt. He hasn't played all preseason. In fact, there was just an article on Monday saying he's going to be out another 6 to 8 weeks. So who's the fourth stringer? Joel Stave. Okay, Joel Stave's not an NFL quarterback. And he showed that this preseason. And from all reports, Minnesota was about to cut Joel Stave. So what do? Do you go to the waiver wire? Do you try to call, you try to pick up a Mark Sanchez or something? No, you don't. When you bring in a quarterback that late in the game, when you miss all of training camp, there's no camaraderie with your teammates, you're not a proven winner, you're nothing, and it takes a while to learn a playbook. I know Norv Turner's a bright guy. Norv Turner's playbook is not an easy one for any quarterback. So you say, all right, well, do you make a trade with Philly? Philly's got all these QBs. And again, probably not. You have to give up a bunch. And the Vikings are looking like this isn't their only window of a year that they're going to go compete for a title. They're saying, hey, we've got a window the next 3 or 4 years. You don't mortgage the future to get a QB for this year who wasn't in training camp and doesn't know the offense. So basically, Minnesota's screwed. I don't know how else to say it. They're screwed. There's not, yeah.
So obviously there was Tennessee money, but also the ground. We talked about this. They went 11-5 and had the 29th ranked offense. Is the offensive line and the running game so good with the defense that they can at least hang around and maybe find a way to win 8-9 games?
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that, look, this defense is elite, okay? The offensive line is solid. They have skill position talent at running back and wide receiver, all right? They, as you mentioned, won a whole bunch of games last year with a quarterback who wasn't that good, who was expected to make big strides this season. So, yeah, there's hope for Minnesota. And, boy, you look at this coaching staff, all right? I'm just going to run some names out here on this coaching staff and run some years of experience. You have the defense coordinator, George Edwards, 19th year in the NFL. The defensive line coach, Andre Patterson, 19th year in the NFL. The linebacker coach, Adam Zimmer, that's Mike's son, his 11th year. The secondary coach, Jerry Gray, in his 21st season. All right. The offense, Norv Turner in season number 32 in the NFL. Wide receiver coach, George Stewart, number 10. Offensive line coach, Tony Sperano, number 18. The tight end coach, Pat Shurmur, has 18 years in the league. The running back coach, Stefanski's 11 years in the league. So we're talking about 3 guys with previous, or the head coach, and then 2 other guys with, Turner, Sperano, and Shurmur. 21 seasons of NFL head coaching experience. You have a whole bunch of savvy veteran coaches on this team, and they think they have Super Bowl caliber talent. So maybe they can coax something out of this squad. I don't think it's hopeless for Minnesota, but boy, it sure isn't as promising as it looked, basically 24 hours ago at this time.
Yes, yeah, terrible news there. Terrible. You hate to see that with Romo and what happened with Bridgewater. Bridgewater's 20.
And let's talk about the markets real quick
ahead
on this, because in Week 1 at Tennessee, there were Vikings were 3.5, 3.5 minus 20. There were 3 minus 20. They were all Minnesota money all summer. Total was 42. Then boom, as soon as the news come out, minus 1.5 and 41. Boom. Then to pick them at some shops. Week 4 of the preseason, nothing but LA money. Minnesota was laying 3.5 there. Now that's down to 2. So there has already been a significant market reaction. We can expect there to be additional market reaction. The money's going to come against the Vikings until proven otherwise.
Yep. All right. And moving on, why the last week of the preseason so tough? Obviously, we're not splitting the atom here. It's obvious. The starters don't play on Thursday and we don't want anybody hurt. And the guys who are trying to make the team, the final cuts, they get most of the PT, Teddy.
Yeah, let me just throw one last thing in here about the Vikings. I'm sorry. I'm going back to the previous thing we were talking about, but I have to do it because it's so key. All right, last year we talked about Minnesota's a 29th ranked offense. They also dropped back to pass only 54.9% of the time. That's the third lowest rate in the NFL. This tweet from ESPN Stats and Info. And Shaun Hill, he has thrown for over 8,000 yards with a career passer rating of 85.7. So that's all I have to say about that. Now, when it comes to week 4 of the NFL preseason, look, almost no starters are going to be out there. So teams got to make their cuts. So everything's about finding the 52nd guy on the roster and the 53rd guy on the rosters. As you mentioned, the coach is even more concerned with injuries, considering how many key players have already been lost already. The Bridgewater news yesterday just makes it that much more obvious. It's a very short practice week. All the games, with one exception, are on Thursday. The other game was moved up to Wednesday. So there's no time to game plan. Nobody game plans here. And some games, the interesting thing about it is that when a quarterback goes the whole game, because you see quarterbacks go the whole, number 3 QBs go the whole game sometimes here, looks like Carolina's going to give Joe Webb the entire game versus Pittsburgh, for example. Sometimes they get into a rhythm and play well if the offensive line can do something in front of them, if the receivers can get open. But there's hope for some of these QBs. Other times it's just a real mismatch of a game, a mismatch. And then other times you find good information like we're about to give you with Cleveland's Hugh Jackson talking about playing his starters.
And the Bears are one of those teams. David Fales will play the entire game, 6th-round draft choice out of San Jose State in 2014. Okay, what is Hugh Jackson going to do? This is interesting.
Quote, "We're going to play our guys. I feel comfortable that we need to play our starters on both sides of the ball. Now, how much they play, this is yet to be determined by me, but we're going to play them because we need to play. We need to get better as a football team as we continue to move forward." Also worth noting that Cleveland, they're 0-3 in the preseason so far. It doesn't matter necessarily, but when you have a home game and you're 0-3 in week 4, and in week 4, the number one important thing is avoid injuries. The number 2 important thing is anyone that cares is going to win this game. Cleveland, sounds like they care. For Chicago, haven't seen a whole lot of that yet. Although, as you mentioned, they are playing one quarterback. The third stringer Fales, who's in his 3rd year out of San Jose State. He was a 6th-round draft choice back in 2014. His next regular season snaps will be his first.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
So we're giving you picks every day, and you're probably making your own as well. Be sure to participate in SBR's weekly Twitter Bankroll Challenge. Just post your picks on Twitter with @SBRSportsPicks and the hashtag BetSBR before 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, Monday through Friday. We'll be betting your picks, and if the bankroll is positive at the end of the week, you could win the profits. Picks must be of events taking place that day and available in at least one of the major sportsbooks shown in our Best Sportsbooks page.